Welcome to the Legendary Upside podcast. My name is Pat Corain. You can find all of my written content at legendaryupside.com. Today, I'm joined by Kyle Dvorchak of NBC Sports Edge and Chess Liam of Chaos Surfing. Liam Murphy. How's it going, guys?
Going good, Pat. Excited for this.
Yeah,
it's going good.
Sorry, Kyle.
As Liam said before, I'm in the BBM champ sandwich. I'm in the middle. As someone who has far less than $1 million to my name, they put me in between you two guys, and by they I mean Pat, because there's no
yeah, there's no big corporate entity here doing this. It's just me. So this is going to be a mailbag pod. It's the first one I've done. Little housekeeping off the top here. If you would like to submit questions for this type of episode in the future, join the Discord. To join the Discord, you got to join legendaryupside.com. That's the first step. If you're already a member of legendaryupside.com, there's some welcome info on the site, which has the Discord link. The Discord link's also, I've been posting it in the premium pod feed, so you can grab it there. Jump in, hang out, ask some questions. Also, leave a rating and review if you're listening to this. So that'd be helpful. It's a new podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, do all the things. Trying to launch this baby. But yeah, got a bunch of questions here from the Discord. Just kind of want to talk through you guys on this best ball mailbag. I asked for best ball related questions. You guys are a couple best ball sickos like me, so lots of good stuff we can talk about here. And yeah, let's kick things off. So question here from 2-4 Offsuit. With all the randomness and chaos in an NFL season, is best ball drafting just vibes?
Yes. As someone who hasn't won $1 million, it's all vibes. It's all vibes.
I'm kind of famous for just saying this, but I would say some people get a little too lost in the sauce, trying to go back in the data and be like, this worked for this season, when they're ignoring that the draft landscape changes when they're trying to apply strategies of yesteryear to the current year.
They'll write whole articles on teams that won. It's like, that's just one team, dude.
Well, I mean, read that article on my time and time again.
But I will say that, no one auto drafting is ever going to win a contest, right? So in my opinion, even Best Ball Mania 4, okay, maybe you could auto draft some stacks, but it's
you could probably auto draft
an unstacked quarterback winning a competition. So clearly it can't just be pure random, right?
I think you could auto draft high stakes if you just set your preset rules.
Well, I mean, people tried and I crushed those people, right? That was
I
damn.
thought we might get a response. Oh, you can?
I think they can.
I think come on, auto drafters.
No, you want them in your draft.
If I can't beat that, what can I beat?
No, you want them in your draft for sure. But I mean, I think you could do it, right? I think it would. It's probably not the best way to make money at it, but because you'll lose more often than you should to people like Liam. But you could probably do it. But I totally agree that we're working with so few data sets. I mean, really, we're working with 3, right? BBM 1, 2, and 3 as far as meaningful sets of data. We have 3 years.
And even that, I would say Best Ball Mania 3 was way sharper than 1 and 2 to me.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
And I see people.
Yeah, it's probably the sharpest contest that's ever been done. I would say.
well, I mean, I see people reference stats from 2010, and I'm like, look, I don't care about your home league with Ma and Pa that you did and what the ADP was back then. No one was playing for any money. And Best Ball Mania 1, if we're just talking the first round, one single wide receiver went in the first round of Best Ball Mania 1, and he got hurt. Michael Thomas. In Best Ball Mania 4, it's looking like one running back is consistently going to go in round 1, CMC. Maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. I think up to 3. I think Taylor and Bijan might.
But I think that they're gonna be round 2 players sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Right. And sometimes a Garrett Wilson or a Waddle will take that spot. The point is things change so quick. Things are getting sharper. And I mean, I think just people overstress themselves a little bit trying to research what worked, and just take a bird's eye view, try to fit what works for this current year. But I don't know. Like that's a crazy wide question, right? Like, is it just vibes? Like,
well, I didn't need to get you angry and talkative. That's why I started.
That's a good way to describe vibes, though. Like, what are the vibes of this tournament? Like, the vibes of this tournament are that people are really hammering wide receiver, and you need to adjust your vibes to, in essence, counter those vibes. And that can't be done with just previous year's data, because like we don't have data on a year where everyone takes receiver with every pick for the first 6 picks. So like certainly these studies,
or when you could no longer get T. Higgins in like round 20. Like that was what Ball Mania 1 was. T. Higgins went undrafted a large clip, right?
Well, so let me get another question in here because it's very related to what we're talking about from Brilsey in the Discord. How valid do you guys think analyzing past results for best ball is in the sense of trying to use it for projecting the future? It seems like with how much the drafts for these larger contests change over the year, that it would be difficult to draw conclusions from prior contests. So that's like exactly what we're talking about. But like, but I've loved Leone's stuff that he has on Establish a Run, you know, diving into this. I think there is value. I've done some of this types of stuff myself. I think there is value. It's just, you have to like, you know, caveat, because
you have to know where the error bands are. Like you have to know how wide the margin for error is. Something like the like Pat, your elite running back stuff, that's going to be more stable because it's talking about something that we do have data on. We have data on like running backs in the NFL. We have a ton of data on that. That also changes as the NFL evolves, but it's at least more stable and a more robust data set than something like the rate at which people are stacking or drafting wide receivers. So I think as long as you understand the context of the data, right? The context that there was 1 receiver taken in the first round of BBM1 and there's going to be 10 or 11 this year. Understanding that and understanding how that will change how you view said data, as long as you know those error bands, you know how to adjust your thoughts versus the data, it's still very valuable. But I think someone who didn't play like BBM1 or 2 or 3, this was their first year getting into it, could easily be misled by a lot of the studies. But there's really smart people in the space who also explain these things as well.
Yeah, I mean, like if we zoom out, this is essentially a single DFS slate that we spend 7 months talking about, right?
Right.
So like in that sense, it's like, yes, of course we're getting too in the weeds with a lot of this stuff. But, you know, like
what else am I going to do with my time? Come on.
Yeah, but I believe in like the micro edges. Like people, you know, like
me too.
I believe in targeting bad defenses. Some people would laugh at that concept. Like, oh, you can predict how good a defense is going to be 17 weeks out. It's like, I'm going to fucking try, you know, and you know, like, I think it's easy to glean the wrong things from historical analysis. But like, I remember you, Pat, had an article last year where you were breaking down my winning team, which of course, like looking at a single team doesn't tell you anything. But from that, it like something you gleaned that I think is actionable is like, you notice like, hey, the reason I won was I had Rashad Penny, I had Amon-Ra St. Brown. So you were saying that like
Jeff Wilson
hitting those late round picks
in like the playoffs.
Like a ton of people get past round 10 and they're like, well, my team is fit, just fill in the dots. And it's like, no, these picks matter a lot. Right. Like, and that is something I will believe to the end of time. Like I'm trying to guard for round 16 as I am round 3.
They matter a lot. And like one of the theories that I've really started to focus in on, and I'll probably end up writing something about this on Legendary Upside in some capacity, is that I really feel like it's not this simple, but if we're just going to kind of oversimplify, your early picks, let's say your first 13 picks, get you to the playoffs. And then after that, you're spike week hunting to advance to the finals or to win the whole thing in week 17. You're looking for guys who are going to spike for you in the playoff weeks. And that's where I think guys like rookies, skill position players, not tacking on a third quarterback, like making sure you're loaded up with dudes who have the potential to win you the tournament by either advancing you through week 16 or through week 15 or 16 or doing it in week 17. And that would also go to one of the points that you make, Liam, a lot, which is like drafting guys who aren't always being drafted. Because if you have a guy who puts up a spike week and he's your round 17 pick and he's not very, you know, highly drafted in the entire contest, that spike week is going to be absolutely massive for you.
So this is something I've been thinking about too, is because like you do want to, you'd love to get to the championship round with every one of your players on your roster. No one else has, i.e. anytime a player blows up, those are only points you accrue. But the difficulty in that is if you get to that point, like you probably didn't get to that point. You can't get to that point with those types of players, but there are a lot of options. Cause like say you know, oh, I'm going to reach in rounds 2 and 3 and 4. And I'll have a super unique team. Like you also have a team that sucks. Like you're probably not getting there, but an easy way to get a really unique team is just to get players in the later rounds who have super wide as possible, as wide as we can predict, like weekly distribution outcomes. Whereas like, yeah, they could suck for like 9 weeks of the year. They could really just have like a very pedestrian to below average advance rate, but then they can blow up. This is kind of true of like the super handcuffy type of running backs too, where like, yeah, you might get 14 straight useless weeks out of a handcuffed running back. But like you didn't give up that many points because the other 13th round players, like most of them weren't crushing you anyways, but you can get to the final rounds with these types of players. And those players can legitimately be, 5% owned in the final round, in the round before that, and absolutely blow up. Like that's the type of profile you want. And it's a much easier you give up way fewer projected points by taking those players in the later rounds to get unique, then you give up projected points by saying like, it's going to be really unique to take T Higgins at the 101. Like you give up so many projected points. Yeah. I think if we got to a point where
straw man much,
if you got to a point where ADP was super, super efficient, it would be more prudent to think about balancing like how unique do I want to get in the early rounds. But I don't think we're there at the point where like in late rounds, there are still really good players going probably behind where they should, because they're the players who can drop 30 burgers in the final round. And maybe they weren't that advanced to get there in the first place. And that's what you want.
For me, I mean, and like Pat's kind of giving me pushback on this too, is like, you should be doing both. And like, it just makes very intuitive sense to me where, okay, let's say you take DK, like, by current ADPs, which I'm assuming people in this, like, in this space know it. Like,
if you're listening to this on April 13th, yeah. I assume you're moderately familiar with best ball ADP.
Like, if you have a Justin Jefferson team, pretend he goes 101, you're round 2-3 guys. The percent of those teams that have DK Metcalf plus Josh Jacobs, Derek, whoever, right, is going to be a lot. And if instead you take, I don't know, T Higgins, like Kyle said, it's like, yes, in a season-long perspective, that's probably bad for you unless Jefferson gets hurt. Like there's a lot of outs that can work for you. But for like playoff weeks, it's like maybe T Higgins is the guy you need to advance these combos. And so I think
here's an example. Here's an example from the current landscape in the Superflex drafts. If you take Jalen Hurts with, let's say he falls to you at the 103, and then you have, let's say you're at 2. Sometimes he does fall to the 103, and those people have a better chance of getting A.J. Brown with him. But let's say you take him at 2, and you don't get A.J. Brown coming back. In the 3rd round, what about reaching for Devontae Smith? Make sure you get that correlation, and then you could also reach for Dallas Goedert a few rounds later, and now you've got a double stack that's probably not going to be that high owned, even though it's like a sick double stack. Most people are going to have Hurts and A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I don't know about Superflex ADP, but to me, the larger the contest, the more you should be doing this at the top. And the only reason it ever becomes bad is because unique stacks that you're getting past ADP, of course, are always better, right? So if you could get a Jefferson Chase start, of course, that's better than forcing a T Higgins, Metcalf, etc. start. But the larger
I'm talking about reaching by about 10 picks on both players, so the odds of them coming all the way back to you are pretty low. But it's a substantial reach that most people aren't doing.
Yeah, and it's just full stop. Like 1-2 turn players are going to be extremely overlapped. So if you take a 1-2 turn at the 101, now you have a unique combo, because 2-3 turn almost never makes it to 3-4 turn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and okay, you're giving a projection. I don't care about the projection. I can hit a Josh Jacobs, a James Conner, a Fournette. Like the way advancements
just draft
work,
the best players in the late rounds. You idiots.
No, the point
this does sound pretty vibes based, actually.
The way, I mean, I am vibes based, right? Like I believe in drafting in good nature spots, etc. But the point is the way like I think a lot of people think advancing is like on the minutia, like, oh, I advanced by it's large portion of the time you advance because you selected the advance rate monster which there are several each year, usually late in rounds. And so, like, just hope you have that guy with your unique combo. Boom, you're in the playoffs with uniqueness.
Okay, so that brings up another question. Jake Stays Online asked, do you have any cure for obsessively drafting Chase Claypool at what my unevolved brain perceives to be a stupid price? I guess stupid low, because he seems to be smashing him. And general thoughts on having over 40% on players.
I mean, I'm pro, of course, taking big stands like this. I mean,
are you pro on taking a stand on Chase Claypool?
No, I'm not, because I mean, he is. We don't even know if he's the wide receiver 3. Like, is it going to be
anytime you can go 40% on the wide receiver 3 on the Bears, you got to do
it. Is it going to be shocking if Velus Jones bumps him somehow? No.
I do think so, but I think he could be the 4th pass catcher in the rotation because Cole Kmet is a
So like let's not take you should take stands. We should take stands on players you're confident when you look at the round is going to outscore those rounds of players, and no one's going to bury you. And Chase Claypool doesn't scream that to me. He screams more,
but he is
low
free.
Ownership, 2 touchdowns.
Right.
No one's burying him in that round, but
if you're gonna like take a huge stand on a last round player, I guess you could do worse because he is gonna. I think he's gonna have a starting job.
He's an athletic freak. He could get traded again. You know, you always got that out.
He's out there in 3 wide receivers.
You love guys who every team passes on having them. They have them and say, no, I don't want them.
Oh, God, no.
I saw Ian Hartitz tweet out that the Bears need to tweet out on draft day that with the 32nd overall pick, the Bears select Chase Claypool just for
that'd be good.
The chaos that would cause.
Yeah, I mean, amazing. I wouldn't be jamming in Chase Claypool. I mean, obviously they're gonna pass more, right? But like part of the reason they're gonna pass more is because they got
because they're past the DJ Moore. Yeah,
exactly.
Here's what I'll say:
are they gonna pass more to Chase Claypool? I don't know. They threw 22 passes per game last year. Like the NFL median was something around like 34. The highest team was 45. They passed half as often as the Bucs. That's so few passing attempts. It's not many at all.
Here's what I found in the late rounds is that it's really hard once you see it and you're like, no, I know everything you're saying, guys, but this is going to happen. He is going to smash, so I need to draft him. Once you're there, the only thing that can get you off of that is falling in love again. You're not going to be able to talk yourself out of it. Find a different player who you start to see that case for.
Short-term memory. Like,
so I don't know
a
if
new
this
love
is,
each week.
Find a new love.
Like the show You. Every season he finds a new girl to be like hyper focused on who he eventually murders. Is that what that show's
about? He's a serial stalker?
Yes, he's a serial stalker. It's exactly what it is. And he ends up killing them almost every season.
What?
It's all right.
Oh my God. Spoilers for you.
I'm not into that. I'm not.
Sorry,
there's
I did
negativity in the world. I'm not into the murder.
Yeah, don't kill Chase Claypool when you're no longer interested in drafting him, to be clear, because that would also be bad for you. Because you have 40%.
I mean, Chase Claypool was Gabe Davis to me in Best Ball Mania 2. Like I had 60% Gabe Davis, right? But it was because why did I have a lot of him? It was because
you're a Bills fan.
As a Bills, it was I thought the Bills. It made no sense that Josh Allen's weapon, who we just saw go, like people were actually worried that Josh Allen was going to regress. Who we just saw him throw like 4,000 whatever yards, and it had to do with Emmanuel Sanders being old, Cole Beasley being old, and Gabe Davis being like a touchdown guy. Where I don't see that case with Chase Claypool. Like the case is like a bunch of guys get hurt, or he just. I mean, it's like, why did it take this dude 3 months and he still didn't get a fit last year? You know, like what's going on?
Yeah, not ideal.
I would say
I
think
40% find someone else. Find someone else you love. That's how you do it.
Dwayne
McBride, I tweeted out. You could.
I don't think I'd ever go like I'm not never. It'd be pretty rare because I would think of it this way. One, like assuming you can build, say Chase Claypool, you can build a lineup with roughly the same expected value with a different player. you would just want to be more diverse as like a measure of not going broke, right? Maybe that's not how people think of it, but like it is mathematically true that your risk of going broke, as that increases, you should be like playing less volume, or go the other way is like, don't go as much in on Chase Claypool if you're going to throw 150 teams in and that's your bankroll. You only think about this when you actually think, I mean, the only way you can think about this is actually having a mathematical bankroll. It's called Kelly criterion. It's the more risky something is, you adjust how much of your bankroll you play. And that also is a measure of the expected value. Like if the expected value is negative, you would just play none of it. So that's how I think of it. But I don't think most people, this is maybe a good show to think about it because we're all nerds.
You're dangering in on elusiveness rating.
Yeah, this
No.
you've lost me at this point, Kyle. I don't know, what's happening.
No,
Well, that's because
he's talking
you have-
about stats terms. I get what he's saying.
That's because you guys have bankrolls that you could play BBM. You could play 5 BBMs a year for the next 50 years, and you don't have to think about it. But like this is like a betting concept of just Kelly criterion, risk of going broke and not going all in on something. Even
you're
if it
never
is
going to go
high
broke on an
expected value.
18th round player, though, right? Like you may not.
No,
win.
but you'll go broke if you keep playing BBM and not winning. That's a problem for the rest of us. I see that. But
well, I mean, that like in theory, none of us should be playing BBM if our goal is ROI.
No, in theory, one of us should not be playing BBM.
There was a thing about here. There was a question about what contest structures.
I put a thread out on like basically how from last year, like I just sensed disappointment from the community, and I mean we should be honest. Like these lottery contests are lotteries in some. Like yes, they're skilled, but when you're playing a 400,000 person entry contest, you know you're not winning. Sorry, full stop. And
Liam's winning, you idiots. You're not winning.
No, I mean I'm not winning, but like
no.
Look, of course, winners occur, but if you're investing like $1,000 in best ball this year, I think you're doing yourself a disservice doing 40 Best Ball Mania 4 entries and not taking half of that bankroll and doing a higher stakes, smaller field tournament. Or
just firing a ton at the like
5K, hang on.
10K
unless you want entertainment. Unless entertainment is the max goal and just having a max amount of teams, which that's fine too. But like the vibe I got is people were like, I advanced a lot, I'm going to get money. And then they're like, oh, I only got 25%.
Yeah, explain that because
ROI.
It's counterintuitive, right? You're saying like, because if you put a bunch of your bankroll into one team,
you're going to get zero.
Team doesn't advance. You're going to get zero a lot. But I guess the point is the times you don't get zero, your odds of getting something meaningful are much higher than if you know the times you don't get zero in Best Ball Mania. You're still likely losing money that year because it's like you lose money, and then maybe
the min cashes
you win a bunch of money.
You need the min cashes aren't what gets you going, and you need to get like top 10% of the finals usually to make money on a Best Ball Mania year.
You need to take.
But another thing that would be really good to reduce those swings and not have like, I mean, you'll play every year for the rest of your life if you just max BBM and you'll never win. Like we do happen to have 2 winners on here, but for most people, like Liam said, for most people, it's just too large. Mathematically, you'll never win. And I think we'll get more of these. Is like the palms are like 5 or 10K entries or whatever. And I think Underdog's smart. I think they know that people.
Well, I mean, Underdog really. I'm not a fan of how they structure high stakes, but if your goal is ROI on investment, it's pretty lenient for the higher stakes stuff. Like they have a 250 last year at least, where instead of top 2 advance out of 12, it's top 4 advance. And now you've already profited. You're like a $300 min cash. You don't get a lot for reaching the finals. It's like 1,000. But if you win the finals, which you have to face a lot more teams than like the way DK does it.
DK is like really small, right? Like in some of the
DK, and I think if you're shot taking, to me, that is more favorable for someone doing 1 or 2 entries because you're not going to be facing me with 30 final teams in the big dog, which I think would turn me off as a consumer. Where it's like, oh God, I got to beat Peter Jennings like 50 teams, Liam's 50 teams, whatever. But like when the finals is huge out of high stakes, that really benefits the people who are going to max it as far as like having a lot of teams there, in my opinion. Whereas like no matter what, if it's harsh advance rates, which the DK 555 was 2 out of 12, then 1 out of 6, then 1 out of 5, 11-person final. It's like, hey, you get one to the finals. It's like, why not me? 1 in 11 chance at worst, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's really appealing. Like even some of the DK stuff that's like $25, the same as Ball Mania. It's smaller contests. It's like 50K up top. It's not going to be nearly the really high end payout, but you're talking about a 20-man field or something once you make that final round. So your odds of taking down a 20-man field obviously much, much higher than 470, and it's probably gonna be bigger than 470 this
You don't
year.
even need to be stacked for a 20-person field, right? Like the
Absolutely
DK
not,
2K was a 3-person final. It's like,
you want a cash team. You want the highest projected players, no matter correlation. Almost doesn't matter. Correlation wouldn't matter at all in a head-to-head. Probably hardly matters at all in a 3-man field. Like truly, you wouldn't care if it was stacked in the final. You probably want it to get through like your 12.
Well, it's funny because that's how I felt most people were approaching it, and so I was saying, you know what? I know it doesn't matter, but I'm going to keep doing it because I don't want to get out. I think I'm like the only one doing this, so
Sure.
like that's going to be. And like
and stacking, people stack in their cash line.
A micro edge. Like I still believe in the theory of it. So it's like if everyone's saying, "Hey, stacking doesn't matter in these small finals fields," and I'm the only one fucking doing it, like I'm getting different from people,
Right. And if your quarterback goes off and you have a stacking partner like that,
well, I'm in game stacking. Like I game stacked in these tournaments with small finals fields.
Even then, I mean, as long as it's not
15 out of
head-to-head at every stage, correlation would matter.
I didn't hear either of what you just said.
Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
No, I was going to say, as long as it's not a head-to-head at every single stage of the event, having correlation will boost your odds of getting like high-end outcomes, which matter, right? So it still would matter. It just decreases the more you're looking towards like playing closer to cash games.
All right. So here's a question from I Was Inverted. What changes would you like to see for contest structures or contest offerings? So this is kind of what we're already talking about, but like, do you want to see?
Well, Liam, this is back to the question on like people were mad about playoff structures in general, right?
Would you, if you were in charge of Underdog, would Ball Mania IV also pay out $2 million and it would be bigger, but there'd just be more money throughout?
It'd be $2.5 million first off.
2.5.
And you got to go bigger.
We just keep it at 2. What if we just keep it at 2?
2.1. No, but I really believe it's important that the flagship contests are playoff contests as opposed to drafters, which has total points. Like if you want,
so you don't like the regular season prize thing
at all, and the reason is because when you think of the person in the casual home league who's drafted with 12 of their buddies, they can relate to the idea of the playoffs. That they know that concept. Win the quarterfinals, win the semifinals, get to the finals, try to win something. It's not that different. But when you start doing all this other minutia, and from a business perspective, of course, time and app, no one's spending time on the Drafters app come week 15 when they're not going to win the contest. Everyone's looking at their contest in the playoff weeks from a consumer perspective. Like if you have a single playoff team, you are live to win $2 million. Like that's exciting. That's why we do this. Like we're there to dream.
Yeah.
So I would not dream. Like people complaining about the structure of Ball Mania 4 is like, go choose better contests for what you want. That's your fault.
Totally
Stop
agree.
your pitching. Sorry.
So yep. No, I totally agree. I couldn't agree more with that. Like there are contests you can play. Like wait till the next palm drops. That's a very it's a better pay. It's not 400,000 entries, right? So it's naturally a better payout structure. But also it's a better edge for us to have more extreme payout structures because we're going to be able to better optimize for 1.0001% outcome than the field is. Like that's why tournaments are beatable, right? Is because the field doesn't understand how important first place versus even second is. Like that gap is so massive in third and fourth. By 10th, you're getting
doing little things that people are like, why would you ever do that? And it's because you're playing for that extra little slice of upside.
Why do you care? They play the Titans week 15.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're
a run funnel. I can't have.
Yeah. Not only can we get a bigger edge from having really brutal payout structures, but also like Liam said, we want this to grow and we want casuals in these contests. We want these, the reason we can have a 10 million overall prize pool is because a lot of people who just like drafting and really don't care about strategy think the idea of winning 2 million is fun. And like, that is important for the ecosystem as it grows. Maybe as it gets like to a perfect equilibrium where no one is entering anymore, which would be way down the road, sort of like where DraftKings at. Maybe at that point, I would consider asking for not as harsh payout structures. But totally,
the sites will just up the rake then, like poker, and just make it hard to beat. You know, like that's you see this in online poker. They just like up the rake to try to push out pros. You know, but like the time horizon in best ball compared to poker is so long that I think it's safe. And like from a company perspective, it's mostly customer acquisition. It's not like they're kind of like giving us these best ball tournaments as like, here you go, like here's a good consumer experience, and then they want people to sports bet or whatever. In my opinion,
Barker 118 asks predictions for size / pool of BBM4 and other tournaments. Let's just stick to BBM4 predictions. Top prize and size of the final round. That's what I want predictions on from you guys.
600 person finals, 2.5, or maybe the same. Maybe they'll keep it the same and they'll throw 500K up top. Like take away the min cash. I don't know.
Didn't they do for, was it BBM 1 or 2? They did $1,000,001, right? It was technically $1,000,001.
Yes. I was the biggest best ball tournament winner of all time for a year.
I'm gonna say they do two. I'm gonna say $2,000,001 with a slightly flatter payout structure, maybe a better prize to or like better prizes to the regular season finishes. I'm gonna say $2,000,001 with a similar size, and they probably get to do more contests as that fills later in the year.
What they've said, they've been on record of saying Best Ball Mania 3 is close to as big as they can do. So we know we're not getting like a 10 mil to first ever, pretty much. And they've said that they're a fan of flattening payout structures, which makes sense from a company perspective where you want more money in more people's hands. It's just good for the ecosystem. They're more likely to put it back on whatever. And so I don't know. And they've also said that the 1 mil to first last year was because they literally didn't have the capability to pay out more than that. So I'm assuming that's going to go to like top 100, 10K, something like that. Which that's good. And I'm hopeful it's 2.5 mil, but it'll probably be like 2,000,001 is a safe bet.
I would say they do 2,000,001.
And you don't have to change the final size then, like 470 finals or whatever it was, 460. Because I don't know.
I'm saying they go 3. We saw 200,000 to the big board, and then what was the second prize? Like 50K. I don't buy this. I think they're trying to get that headline number up. So I'm going to say 3 mil to first.
And when do we reach 5?
And I'll say 700 in the final round.
Do you think we'll reach 5 million within 5 years?
They could. I don't know if they'll ever choose to push it to 5, but they could. It's
do you
just
think we'll
their
reach
choice.
10 mil in our lifetime?
No, I don't think there's any the reason DraftKings stops at 1 million and doesn't go to 1.2 million is like the marketing value of 1 million is really good. The marketing value of 1.2 million is probably no different. I mean, it's probably almost
DraftKings is different too because it's like they need to prepare for the future slates, whereas Underdog kind of doesn't. Like everyone who's playing is not a professional. Everyone's supplying their money with their job. So it's like, unlike DraftKings, where if you do a $10 million 1 week, people literally will not have the money if they like go to the entrance to like in the future weeks.
They have other slates they have to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Like so it's not always about maximizing a single slate, in my opinion, for DFS versus best ball, where it's like, hey, I lost last year, whatever. Check up the variance, new year, let's go, baby.
I don't think that 10 million will happen because, to your point on like the customer acquisition stuff, it's like by the time 10 million would be plausible, is that something that even makes sense for them to do?
I don't know. What's inflation going to do? Is 10 million even a lot in 10 years?
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, yeah, maybe we're.
I hate that that's a point that I'm like, oh, that's kind of a good point.
So this kind of goes to what we were just talking about. Bates asks, how do you guys see best ball growing as an industry, and can it scale to be offered as a flagship / premium product? I'm not sure I understand that last part, but
the
predictions on how this industry grows.
As someone who chugs away at content for like next to no monetary gain, I think I've made $150 on YouTube over the past year on like north of 100 videos. I like to think that like we are the ground. Like if we, I grew up watching poker on ESPN. You would see the Daniel Negreanu's, the Phil Hellmuths of the world. Like in some sense, I like to think of best ball like that. Like we are at the beginning right now, and it's hard to realize that when it's happening, but it's like there's a lot of parallels to poker. I don't think it's quite like DFS, where I feel like it's more content friendly best ball, such as poker is, where like people can just watch it because people like to watch drafts. No one like you may like,
and it's the same
person.
content. It's the same pool of players for months. So there's like,
and it's a draft. It's not like building salary lineups, which is like not the like dopamine thing of like drafting players, right?
Right.
So
right.
I don't think it's as close to DFS as it is to poker in that sense. And it's like, I don't know, in 10 years from now, like it could be huge. Like, and I think it's just more and more word of mouth. Casual people are going to be in the best ball streets, which is good for best ball and exciting.
Here's one thing I think is that I think Dynasty's in trouble. I think if you're like
who would be
hardcore, if you're I used to be me, like, because that used to be if you're hardcore, right? It's like, you know what I do? I never stop thinking about fantasy football. I'm thinking about the rookies right now. I'm thinking about
I've
trades.
noticed this too.
I'm trying to win my $25.
Yeah, I'm playing high stakes. This league cost me $350 to enter. I could win up to like $2K this year. Like that used to be more of an exciting thing. Now I feel like if you're super deep into the rookie stuff, why aren't you just playing best ball? There's literally best ball tournaments,
because you don't know what best ball is yet is like the only excuse.
So one thing
I think that's where it's gonna soak up that.
Where are our DraftKings style commercials for Pat and I, by the way? Enough of Josh Norris. Enough of this. Get me on the fucking TV.
I don't have a ring yet. I don't know. I don't know how I gotta walk over to East
interesting.
Williamsburg and get a ring.
So one thing I did think about, 'cause I don't know if this is what they meant, the question asker meant by, can it be a flagship product? Like, how much money do you think, like how many raw dollars do you think people put into best ball contest in a year? BBM was what, like 11 million, like quadruple that, 5x that is 50 million. The rake on it is 15%. They made like a few $1 million in rake on best ball this past year, probably. That's not a lot for a big company with like a lot of employees. So
no, but it plays into pick'ems, etc. Like
people. No, but that's what I'm getting at is they also really do need and want to funnel you to somewhat of the weekly or nightly, the nightly best ball stuff. But it's probably pick'ems more than anything that they want. Like they probably are really excited to be a casino adjacent place, or sports betting, not casino, sports betting adjacent business in the long term. Because even as we get to these like 12, 15 million prize pool best ball flagship type of tournaments, they're making a few $1 million on that. Like, don't they have an office in New York? That's expensive. Like,
but how bad did DraftKings fumble the bag? Like, they looked at best ball and they were like, whatever, who cares? And
well, I mean, to them, think about it though. To them,
FanDuel fumbled the bag. FanDuel had this company in their company.
Yeah, well, whatever. But like Underdog has really good customer service, has a really good product. So like that's it, and like who cares the ends to the means? It's like I don't have to do a pick'em, right?
No, like, I don't think it's a problem. I'm just thinking from the business perspective and from like DK when I'm saying like Underdog pulled in like 6-7 million in rake this past year. Like, dude, Underdog or DK makes that on like one MLB slate. They just don't care.
And I think,
and the MLB slate, they want to make that in slots online. Like,
but
they'll make that
in a day. There's been some rumors that DK is going to focus more on their best ball because they're probably finally realizing, like, oh fuck, we have a competitor in Underdog.
Right?
Like, they have literally allowed a competitor to grow here because they were lazy addressing best ball. And I forgot what else I was going to say. It was going to be smart, but.
I don't think they care about best ball. I think best ball is a drop in the bucket, and like the best thing it does is get people into DFS to get people into the casino. Like
I think people
they just don't care.
I think people are setting aside more of their bankroll for best ball over DFS.
Well,
I think so too.
They also don't care about DFS. They want you to like.
I plan to do that for the weekly contest a little bit more as well.
Like I just think a lot of people are like, fuck, I get killed in DFS. Best ball is like people I know have won and it's more enjoyable. And it's like you could still scratch your degen tingles on the couch looking at your best ball lineups while you watch football. Like
right.
Or you can scale back your
They're
action.
not that fun to sweat early in the year, but you can do weekly stuff, and you've got I think you can also scale back DFS. That's what I'm thinking I might do is like scale back my DFS, but still play DFS. So I'm gonna have a sweat there.
you throw a lineup in the Millie Maker each week, whatever. Get your.
I'm still gonna do small field stuff, but maybe more like the Spy or something. So it's like I have to enter less, and then I still have
that is the Millie Maker to you, Pat. The $100 Spy.
The second Spy, not the first one.
It's a better contest, Liam. You have an actual small chance of winning instead of infinitesimally small with the single entry. All right, let's do a little player stuff. Question here from Boss Meg. What are your thoughts on Aaron Jones and Pacheco, typically going towards the end of the 6th round on Underdog? Kyle, you and I were talking about player rankings and stuff, and seemed like maybe you weren't that into Aaron Jones. You mentioned enjoying drafting Najee Harris ahead of him, which made me vomit in my mouth. So what's your deal? Why don't you like Aaron Jones?
Packers are going to suck, man. They're going to be a terrible team. And I think like we look at Najee and we're like, the only reason we care about him is because when we care about him, he plays all the snaps, gets a bunch of targets, gets a bunch of carries. He's not particularly good with any of them, but like that's how a player with a bad offensive line, who himself, he's not like particularly special at anything at all, putting it lightly, to be fair. But he's bad offensive line, bad offense, not a player who makes stuff on his own. That's how he succeeds, is by getting every single touch, every single snap. And I think Aaron Jones is significantly better as a player than him, but I also can't come in here and be like, yeah, running backs don't matter. But Aaron Jones, he matters a lot. So if I think the Packers offense, if I think the Packers offense is going to be terrible, I think he has competition for touches. I'm not going to be overly excited. I'm not extremely down on him because like he is good, but like I am of the belief that a good running back can only control so much of the outcome on any individual play. And that is not true of quarterbacks, right? Quarterbacks have so much more dominance over the outcomes of stuff. That's why quarterbacks are drafted early, and running backs, we're talking about a like generational, people throw that word around. Generational Bijan, probably going to go in the 1st round, right? He's going to go 20s. Maybe some team jumps up to him, but like legit people think he's probably going to go in the 20s, right? He is like an incredibly good running back prospect, and that's how little the NFL values.
Which would be absurd for Bijan.
I don't think he'll go top 10 anymore. Like, but that's what we're talking about. It's like,
I don't either, but
in 2004, Bijan goes 101 in the NFL draft, right?
Oh, yeah.
In 2023, he could go 20s, right? And so I
wouldn't go 101, but I do like, he'd go probably
104 after the.
I mean, we
had
he'd
go 104.
Like what we had, there were really
the Colts would be able to trade down, and someone would trade up and take Bijan.
But I mean, my take on
Saquon,
Pacheco,
wasn't Saquon 4?
I think he was 2.
He was
2.
He
was the Browns draft because the Browns, I think, took Myles Garrett that year, and real people thought it was best for them to take Saquon, and they were not that far off from what actually happened, right? So, like, yeah. Anyway,
yeah, he went 2. I just confirmed.
Oh,
my take on Pacheco and Aaron Jones is that this group of players is the running back dead zone of yesteryear.
Yeah,
where
it's just later. Yeah,
some of these running backs are going to do very good. Some of them are going to do very bad. Like Pacheco, there's cases where he runs for, I don't know, 10 to 15 touchdowns because Pat Mahomes doesn't throw as much and Kelsey gets hurt. There are cases where he's a 7th round pick and literally we don't even remember this guy's name at the end of the season. With Aaron Jones, it's a little bit more offense concerns. And I actually did like what I saw from Jordan Love in that one bit of action last year. Like, now, keep in mind, it was like throw a slant to Christian Watson, and Watson just ran down the field.
I know the throw you're talking about. There's a specific
throw. It looked good. It looked good, man. And so it's like
we're not allowed to judge Trey Lance for anything he's done in the NFL, but Jordan Love, we're allowed to be like, I don't know,
but
man.
I'm judging Trey Lance too. Let me tell you.
I'm still in on Trey Lance. Like, I'm not gonna be out on him, but anyways, like Pacheco and Aaron Jones, I don't plan to load up on these guys, but it's not going to be really surprising if any of the running backs in these tier, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Pacheco, Cam Akers, not Joe Mixon, because as I told you guys,
yeah, you were right on that one.
He's not playing in the NFL.
I retweeted your victory lap, even though it was at my expense. I was about to agree with you. I was literally, the clip is me being like, all right, that's a good point. Like, I've changed my mind.
No, I cut out the part where you're like, it's mixing.
Well, you did. That's true. You cut that part off too, so I appreciate it.
And I was just like, okay, we're running out of clock. So
all right, Pat, you mixing. Dumbass.
No, but I mean, even if Mixon is cleared, it's not going to be shocking if he crushes it too. Like any of these so I don't really know.
What do you think about like you say this is the dead zone from yesteryear? I agree with that, but the price is different, And so like last year, Chase Edmonds was a part of this dead zone, awful bust. But so was Josh Jacobs, and the fact that he hit in like the 6th, 7th, sometimes 8th, if you were in a ship chasing draft. Like that hit was a lot more powerful, because he didn't have like the most impactful running back season ever. It was a very good season.
But the opportunity cost is lower.
It was the opportunity cost. Yeah. It was so much lower than we're used to. Yeah.
The dead zone has never been about these players suck, they can't score points. It's been like they are overpriced by a very easily measured amount, right?
I mean, this is still one of the last
the other way.
So where is fair value on these guys?
It's still one of the last wide receivers you're hopeful for go too. Like these are, if you want the Treylon Burks, the Gabe Davis tier. After this, it's like George Pickens and gang. It's like, and after that, it's like, oh shit, who's looking me in the face right now?
Juju,
Isaiah Hodgins, welcome to the team.
Yeah.
So it is like, I don't know. Some drafts I'll load up on wideouts and I'll just hit this range hard. Some drafts I'll get 2 running backs to start and I'll just start backfilling my wideouts. And there's still a lot of uncertainty as it sits today with a lot of these players. Like, I don't know if Dalvin Cook's a Viking. I don't know if the Chiefs draft Bijan at the end of the draft. Like, that's not out of the question. So I don't have strong player takes on any of these running backs in this round yet. But like Aaron Jones is like AJ Dillon didn't go away. That to me, and like this is that archetype of guy, freak athlete who scores in the red zone. It's like, what's it going to take from Aaron Jones? He's got to like house a lot of like 20-yard rushing touchdowns or something,
or just kind of rack up stuff underneath and
but like
be like
Dylan's
James
getting a lot
Conner,
of those touchdowns. Like Pacheco versus Aaron Jones feels like a different bet to me a little bit.
Okay,
right now.
I agree.
One thing I would say is like the fact that the dead zone has basically like drifted down, a couple rounds, I think actually puts early running back drafters in a bit of a pickle, because it's like before, if all these running backs are getting snapped up, then if you were drafting wide receivers early, when you go to draft running back, you have the tier behind this, which is an even more, there's like real job security issues, like early season production issues. And you get hits from that group, but it's like kind of more difficult to imagine, a Josh Jacobs style guy where it's just like he's the guy from week 1 and is a workhorse. Like that is possible with some of these guys, like a Mixon if he were to stick around, or Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook, like that's possible.
Cam Akers, like I don't know, I'm kind of bullish on Cam Akers.
I don't mind it. I don't love it. I would never take him in the 5th round, but like if he's in the 7th or 8th or whatever, I mean, it's kind of like okay. But I think that puts you, if you don't have enough wide receiver firepower to where then taking that Cam Akers in the 7th kind of hurts you, because you've already committed too much to running back. Like you're at a real disadvantage because the wide receiver guy can come along and scoop him up. So
it's like, what 2v2 do you want? Do you want like Tyreek Hill plus Waddle plus Dalvin Cook and Pacheco? Or do you want CMC and Josh Jacobs plus Treylon Burks and Deontay Johnson or something like that?
Right.
Those
are
like Treylon Burks enough to where
running backs on our roster.
But like the gap between the running backs feels smaller than the gap between the wideouts is in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Are you willing? This is from Jake Stays Online. This is about the kind of the quarterback ADP, which has been pretty interesting this year. It's not super flex related. This was, I believe, related to kind of the early quarterback ADP in the big board. Presumably, Best Ball Mania will start out with somewhat similar early quarterback ADP. Are you willing to take / what do you think about the top 3 quarterbacks going in the mid to late 2nd round of underdog drafts so far.
I think people forget that Best Ball Mania 1 had Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson as quasi first round picks. So like this is not the first time we've seen this. It was the year after Mahomes, Lamar won MVP and Mahomes was just like, okay, he's the guy. And both of them, I think Lamar got hurt that year and Mahomes had a whatever. So both of them got crushed because you could get like Josh Allen in like the 9th round that year after Matt Ryan and gang.
Right.
Right. And so I personally, this is where I try to like listen to content. And if like people like Pat and Pete and whoever are telling me like, you can't take these elite quarterbacks, I'm going to be like, okay, hopefully the sharp people are out. I'm going to do it. I can advance these guys anyways. And I want these elite guys.
So you listen to us to then do the opposite of what we said.
Well, I'm trying to literally
kind of smart.
Like if it's only like the casual crowd who's like Pat Mahomes, I'm like, all right, it's me versus them for like when we get to these playoffs, right? So
that makes sense.
I will say though, like there's a lot of late round guys to like this year.
There are.
Anthony Richardson, like there are guys who could match elite seasons late in drafts, but I don't know. I'm always going to take elite guys, especially if it's stacked. Like I'm never taking a naked Pat Mahomes and being like, let's roll. But like I'll roll naked Hurts, Allen, and just be like, I can outdraft you guys in the later picks. And I know these guys are likely going to give me 30 to 40 point games a large portion of the time. That can't be matched.
Yeah,
if you're rolling out naked Mahomes, you are committed to a naked quarterback because there are many options later in the draft for you.
I think it probably is a measure of what Liam was saying is like, how confident are you that you can get big games from the, 6th, 7th, whatever, pick around that round onward. Because last year you just could not. There was like 2 quarters, like Fields
was a
Geno
big
Smith,
one.
Jared Goff combined. Like Fields was the big one, and after
Jared
that,
Goff, Geno Smith, but people weren't drafting Geno.
Yeah, exactly. People weren't even drafting Geno, but those guys gave you like a combined 4 25-point games. Like they had good years, but it's because they had they were good points per game kind of guys. They didn't actually blow up that many times. Like I looked at this last year. You could not. There was just no way other than Fields. He was like the end of elite quarterback weeks.
Trevor Lawrence, a little bit in the playoffs.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
You just couldn't get elite quarterback production from rounds it was something like 14 or whatever. There was no one. Like it was 2 good games from Jared Goff and 2 good games from Geno Smith. And I don't even know if those came in the weeks that matter. We obviously 17. If you think this year that Richardson's going to start quickly, and I mean, if he starts, I do think he'll blow up a few weeks at least. If you think that you can get those guys in the later rounds, then yeah. But last year that dynamic was
Stafford, it won't
be
shocking if Stafford rekindles 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think Stafford's kind of a really. I mean, we're taking Cup at the 102,
the other rookie
103.
There's some quarterbacks that could definitely match, but for me, I'll be min 8% Hurts and Allen. I'm more comfortable fading Mahomes, and it really kind of depends how many Kelsey teams I draft, I guess.
Yeah, I have not enjoyed the 2nd round ADP on those guys, and I guess it's tough though because are the casuals going to come in August and drop those ADPs, or are they going to be they're the best quarterbacks I'm drafting?
Is they will drop to the 3rd round sometime in the dead point of the summer, like June, July, I think, right? Or maybe
I kind of think they just feel like they should be 3rd round picks to me, so I'm like maybe they'll drop there at some point and I can hammer them, which is a thing that I love doing. I didn't take a ton of Kamara last year when he's in the 2nd. I drafted him a ton when he's in the late 3rd. And then, his price rose back up.
But the point
I
is,
love being able to do that.
The 3rd round right now is a bunch of running backs where none of us are confident who we should be taking. And so when you don't have those players who you're like, this is a clear best pick here, why not just roll with the quarterback? Because it's the easier decision. It's whatever. I know Jalen Hurts is going to be elite. I don't know if it's Derrick Henry. I don't know if it's Josh Jacobs. I don't know if it's Ken Walker, Tony Pollard, Ramondre, whoever,
I wonder if Ramondre and Pollard maybe move up after the draft if they don't take Bijan. Because I think that there's some Bijan risk.
They'll move up, yeah.
Depends how anchored people are.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of Bijan, Nez asked, game theory question regarding Bijan. Are you hoping for a perceived good or bad landing spot? I'm hoping for bad.
I always say I don't care what offense. Like, I want the mid to bad offense for my running backs. Whereas, like, a wideout, I want an elite quarterback. I do not want Bijan to the Bills. I do not want him competing with Josh Allen for touchdowns. I want him on the Lions or somewhere where it's like, or I don't know, what's a bad landing spot for Bijan? I do not want the Patriots. Like, that's terrible. Like,
no, I think Ramondre is a really good backup running back if he goes to the Patriots.
No, that's so scary. That's like,
it's a little scary, but not that scary. He's better than Ramondre.
Well, Ramondre would play on third downs probably and get like all the pass game work.
I don't know that he even play on third downs.
He's a pretty good pass catcher.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want terrible, but I want bad, which
I don't want the Bears. The Bears is like, is he even going to catch passes? The Ravens is like, is he even going to catch passes?
Like the Commanders is a perfect spot, assuming
Commanders is ideal. It's
ideal.
Yeah, it's really just like, it's really just what's the biggest delta by what his value should be versus what his value will be, right? We want him, honestly, I'd be fine if he was the most overpriced player. Like, I want players to be mispriced. So maybe he goes to a good spot. Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
Like, I have no desire to draft Bijan. I have desire to draft winning teams, right? I don't care if I take Bijan or whoever. So, like,
come on, Kyle, you nerd. You got to have some fun here. I want to draft Bijan. He's awesome.
Kyle.
Oh, God.
I truly could not.
Bijan is not CE8. Stop saying that, Kyle. If you could edit that in, that Kyle says.
Your worst take. I don't care who I take. I want to draft a winner.
Boo!
Kyle was
so. Literally, whatever makes him the largest
Watch
delta
a hype tape,
between
kid. Come on now.
Yeah, man, you're too deep in the spreadsheets. You get some help.
This is what spreadsheet socialism looks like. If you don't like it, get off the ship.
I think I'm off. I'm gonna turn into a tape guy now.
All right, let's just top 3 spots for Bijan. Top 3 worst spots for Bijan. What do you got? What do you guys
like
think?
In terms of how many fantasy points he'll score?
Fantasy points he's going to score. Top 3, Kyle. What's your top 3 best spots?
I think Lions would be a really good one. They fit the mold of like good line, totally fine with running the ball a lot.
If Swift's out of there too, like Swift out of there.
Swift is just done. Swift gets.
He will push Swift out of there. It's over.
Yeah.
Okay. Swift cut.
Yeah. What else?
Vikings. I would put maybe.
Vikings is my number one.
That's a good one.
It's my number one.
Vikings with Dalvin Cook out of town probably hurts Hawkinson. What do you got for third?
Bengals might be a good one. I feel like if the Bengals are generally sort of
Bengals,
but we talk about the teams that like, oh, will they actually run the ball? Like the Chiefs, like I don't care. They literally took a first-round running back, and they're like
Zach Taylor. I believe in Zach Taylor. If you need him,
but that's what I was going to say. The Bengals are not in that territory. The Bengals are, if they draft first-round running back, they'll use that guy.
And Mahomes like throws abnormally close to the line, to the end zone. Like he like leads the league and like throws within
in
10
goofball
yards.
Underhand passes at the 1 yard.
Exactly.
This is tried and true. I mean, this is how Aaron Rodgers won back-to-back MVPs. You pass at the goal line. You're trying to win MVP again? He's like, I'm Patrick Mahomes. I have 1 MVP. We're passing when we get in close.
Pat, what are your 3 worst spots for fantasy points for Bijan?
Bears, Ravens,
Ravens without Lamar. I mean, Ravens with Lamar.
No, Ravens with Lamar.
Yeah,
I think Ravens with
Lamar.
Yeah, because Bijan's not like a Kamara level receiving prospect or a CMC level receiving prospect. He's very good, but he's more like Saquon. Like he's going to be
Greg Roman out of town. Like they could pass a little bit more.
That would be fine. I'm just worried that he wouldn't I just don't think Lamar's going to throw to his running back a lot.
So then Eagles and Bills are in the mix too.
Eagles would probably be the 3rd worst. Yeah.
Eagles is hard though, because it's like their line is so elite. So it's like, is a 16 touchdown absurd season going to be?
Yeah, I take it back. Eagles isn't terrible, but they're.
I think Eagles is like
it's a
weird
bummer
balance.
nonetheless.
Eagles is a weird balance of like, he's going to average 5.8 yards a carry on a ton of carries, but Jalen Hurts had, up until he got hurt, he was on pace for the most red zone and end zone usage of a quarterback in NFL history. And he came close too, while missing the final.
And they didn't ban the rugby play.
They didn't outlaw it.
They didn't ban the rugby play. So
we could just play rugby. They're cool with it.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots makes my list for terrible personally, just because
I think they're mid.
Too good to just be like, see a guy.
He's too good in week 1.
This is
but
not Noah
he's
Gray.
Not too good in week
right?
17.
Or, I mean, not Noah Gray. Who's they've had some bunch of running backs that scored 2 touchdowns.
Pierre Strong, Damian Harris, Sonny Michel. I think Bijan is too good. I love Ramondre, but
he's a day 3 pick.
Bijan would be the starter, but Ramondre, to me, like, he was their offense. He's just going to go to.
He's 10%. The Marlon Mack, man. By the end of the year, it would be Bijan.
He's Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah.
And I like him a lot. This is from someone who drafted one of him last year. I know you did too.
I love Ramondre. I just think Bijan.
But Bijan's better by a chunk.
And also, when you spend a first-round pick on a running back, like, that's kind of over for the day 3 guy you already had.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that Bijan could lose goal line because Ramondre is 230 pounds and pass catching. He could.
I don't think he would. I just don't think they spend what do they have, like the 17th, 16th, whatever pick, and they're like, but this guy's not good enough to get carries at the goal line. Like, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
and he's awesome. That's the other thing. It's not like a Najee situation where it's like
not CEH,
Yeah, not CEH. He's good. He's really good. So
yeah,
the Giants would be fun. Just they're like, goodbye Saquon. We're now ushering in Bijan.
Wow. Oh man, that's tough. Oh, you don't want to sign the franchise tag? Great. We don't want you to either. Bye.
We want the new one.
They rescind the tag.
Yeah, we were rescinding it actually. See you later.
Yep.
That'd be some real hardball. All right, let's move to another question here. Slow drafts versus fast drafts. I'm still seeing on Twitter, people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get some Dwayne McBride in my big board." I was tweeting about Dwayne McBride this morning. I'm gonna make sure to give him my big board drafts because I still got slows going. Like, good God. But so from Kiv, drafted about 50 teams in Ball Mania 2 and 3, but never found the time to max enter. Going to try to max BBM 4 via additional slow drafts. What percentage of your drafts are fast versus slow? And do any of your strategies differ for slow drafts?
Can we stop the narrative that slow drafts save time? Because when you have 50 at the same fucking time, and then it's not like you just open the app and you're like, goodbye, made my pick, had a good day. You have to look at the draft, see what your opponents do, refresh what you were fucking doing. Like,
remember what you were trying to do, trying to stack, trying to build something, trying to
you have to replay all the draft in your head again. You have
set
to redo it
all so that you're able to wake up in time because you're always on the clock. And people are doing things like making picks at midnight to try to auto draft you. Like,
yeah, what's good for work-life balance, and if you consider this work-life balance, just have a low level of stress all the time that you might be on the clock. That's how you definitely manage it. It's great, super smart.
I think we're all super fast.
We're all fast draft hardos.
Like, sorry, I just don't have an hour. It's like, okay, multi-table. I could be done with Ball Mania in 15 sessions of 10 multi-tables.
Oh my God.
15 hours, I could be done.
That would be so negative, EP.
I could do it very easily. I'm done. I have stacked teams.
We should see who could max like a random Pom. Like, they drop a random, $3 Pomeranian, and we should all just compete to see who can get the most through as fast as possible. Like, I'm 30 tabling.
I'm not challenging Liam. I'm maxed out at about 4. After about 4, I start missing picks. It's a disaster. I can do 3 very well. 4 is a little shaky. After that, it's a disaster.
The only slow drafts I do is when the DraftKings high stakes literally does not fill fast in the beginning. They only fill slow. Yeah. So I'll enter slow then. But I don't know. Like, if it works for you and you can set aside 2 times a day to try to make your picks on slow drafts, go for it. But I'm telling you, people do stuff like they try to draft. They make their picks at midnight, trying to catch you on auto draft. And if you have too many, it feels like you're on the clock the whole time. Like, to me, it's a stressful thing. Some parents out there do like it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a parents thing. Like Pete is all about. I don't know how. It honestly, like, I guess, how scheduled are you too? Because I just kind of like go throughout my day doing what I feel like doing. Like, I'm not super organized. Like, I don't have my time scheduled out. That would also stress me out. Like, if I had like an alarm going off being like, check your slow drafts now. Like, I have to set an alarm every day. And
I was in Vegas last year for the WSOP and like would auto draft all the time because, I stayed up late try to sleep in, and I'm like, fuck, I missed like a bunch of picks. In high stakes shit I cared about, it's like, it's stress, in my opinion.
To me, it's stress. It's pure stress. I guess if you're organized enough to stay on top of it, to check in at like set periods but like to me, I'm just sort of like it's just a thought in the back of my head. Like,
make sure you never get autoed.
Oh, I'm gonna get timed out if I don't check my stuff.
Yeah,
just fast 3 drafts at the same time. By the way, that's a lot of fun. Go outside. It's 80 degrees outside. I might do it after this draft. After this pod, I might
go
sit
in the park, rip a fast draft, go on a hike.
Rip 3.
I walk my dog and like fast draft 3 at a time usually.
Boom.
I can't imagine actually walking the dog while ripping 3 fast drafts.
You guys
are better fast drafters than
like,
me,
hold on. Making a pick here.
All right. Barbell approach. This is another common question. Is the barbell approach still considered GTO? This is from Barker 118 for a summer-long tournament where the winners have come from mid-summer draft rooms. July 18th was the date of my winning team, also the date of King Cap's winning.
I was like
the regular season
16th, I think.
Yeah, that's what I remember. You were mid-June, right?
June 15th, 16th, something like this.
Okay, so the barbell approach is
so we've drawn a line. You want to draft in the middle of a month because we're just looking at 2 teams, and it's between the. No, I mean, like I say that
can't even win a month, much less a whole summer. You know, like they would be good with June 1st at this point.
I mean, I'm saying it in jest, but it's like I don't think we can take sweeping conclusions from when Pat's team was drafted, my team was drafted. But like what you said last year, Pat, is something I did too. Is like people are like, I'm not drafting in the middle of summer. I'm like, I need to get a lot of teams in. I'm going to do it for quality of life. And if people aren't drafting, who am I drafting with? Like, who are in these lobbies with me? You know, maybe they're not plugged in people. So
I think maybe the barbell edge has to be like 0.07% or something, right? Because I know last year Jack Miller of ETR looked at this, and you just on average and at your highest level of outcomes scored more points as the summer went on. So you're not like gaining points. Maybe you can gain unique combinations of players. You give up points, but you gain unique combinations if you draft early in the summer. But you don't know for sure that combination will be unique. You're just kind of throwing it out and they're saying maybe it is, or maybe this player falls and people are getting better mixes of that same combo. I think maybe there's a small edge, but it is so infinitesimal that like, man, I couldn't care less for that one.
I think it depends. Like for me, I've found I get good closing line value on players. Like I'm good at identifying players who go up a lot in ADP value. I'm not like thinking of that while I'm doing my early drafts. It's just like, I like this player. And then like, you know, the buzz on that player tends to go up. It goes down too. Like sometimes I'm on a player and I'm like, oh God, now I have to chase.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you're going to have way bigger misses early and way bigger hits early.
But like what you said, Kyle, is like, you know, what Jack Miller looked at. That really depends on the draft landscape. One year, maybe we're going to be good at not drafting Brashad Perryman and people who literally are not going to be active in the NFL that year. You know, like maybe we're going to finally be good at being like, okay, this guy, like maybe we'll find the Deion Jacksons or whatever of the world that should have been mixed in late. And so, I mean, for me personally, I know I'm drafting all May. Then I'm going to Vegas for June and July. And then I'm going to come back mid-July. And you can't draft in Vegas if people don't know. And then I'm going to do the rest. So I'm not going to be drafting a lot June, July, but that's just what fits my life. It's not like, and it's not like I'm not obsessing being like, oh, I need to get this down here, emailing my DK rep, be like, can you enter me in a slow draft? Or so.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it. Like figure out how many drafts you want to do and make sure you're enjoying drafting. Like to me, like especially with something like Ball Mania IV, where we just talked about how, you know, in most seasons, even if you play well, you're going to lose money on a Ball Mania IV contest. So make sure you're having fun. Like if you're not having fun drafting, like it was not worth it. You should be having fun doing this.
I was not having fun the like last week or two of before contests open, where I was like, oh shit, I need to get in 100 more DraftKings $5 drafts. And I was doing 8 to 10 at a time on my monitor. And like, it was just like the worst interface. So there is something to say that if you're planning on maxing a contest, map it out a little bit in your brain. Like you don't need to open a spreadsheet here, but like, don't be like, oh fuck, I need to get 100 down in August, and it's like the winner can come anytime. It's not like, so I don't.
It clearly can come anytime. And remember, this is like a game where we're taking. If you want to take someone you like that you want to have a good season, do that. You don't have to just try and win
only
a
doing
contest.
150
You can also
teams max. And like, guys, Pat's team won. If it was in a different playoff bracket, maybe he doesn't make the finals, right? There's a lot of variance, a lot of chaos you need to surf if you would.
But you still need to be shooting for that legendary episode.
Oh, yeah. Kyle, what's your brand?
And you need to NBC the best strategies and use them.
But after you win, don't peacock.
Thank you for your question.
All right. Next question. Okay, so this is about FFPC, which, by the way, I have a gripe with FFPC. I entered a fast draft, one of the sit and goes, and I just sat in it, and then it went, and I wasn't around because it gave me like 2 minutes. And so I have an auto-drafted FFPC sit and go, which was a real bummer.
Is it a good one?
Well, that's a huge edge in FFPC. I've noticed that the sit and goes fill as soon as they fill, and they rarely do fill.
Off. Yeah.
And people...
I was at the park with Murphy.
Liam was in that draft
you
robbing
can
you
catch
blind.
countless auto drafters in FFPC
I was one of them.
sit and goes because usually it's scheduled drafts.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And somehow I ended up with like a team that's not completely dead. Like it has like the correct allocations of like players and stuff, but it's it's not going to win.
So many drafts of mine on like DraftKings last year filled in the 555, and I'm like 10 rounds in, I'm like, oh fuck. And then I have to like steer it. I'm like, okay, I can steer this Pat Mahomes unstacked team.
Oh my god,
maybe.
So this is a question from Bill here. He said he doesn't have underdog in his home state, so he's been doing small FFPC 12-team best ball leagues. I guess this is not even like a tournament. This is just like kind of the old cash game.
This is 2015 best ball.
This is not
baby.
my expertise, but my take is like you want to cut out the extreme builds, right? Like I'm building for uniqueness. I'm building teams I think can win the contest. That's a different mentality than I'm trying to score the most points in this league, where it's like, of course you should not do zero running back and try to fill it in with a bunch of handcuffs and make it work, right? Like you can't accept that you're getting 5 points from your running back spots weeks 1 and 2. So it's like more balanced. And I would say like Travis Kelce usually is the 101 in these leagues in cash games sometimes because no one can match you. If no one can match you, if Kelce rips off 20 points per game and the next tight end is doing 10 points per game, like literally you've just gapped the field tremendously, and you're unlikely to be gapped at running back and wide receiver and quarterback the same.
Yeah, there's not an easy place for them to just like, oh, let me just make those points back up. Like you just can't. Kelsey's just that
although
much
like the big three quarterbacks also I probably value higher, right? Yeah. Like just locking in Jalen Hurts for the season.
I mean, like the easy way to think about this in our best ball terms is you would just optimize purely for advance rate, because advance rate is just finishing at the top of your pod, right? So that's like, if you want to try and twist your brain backwards to think about how you'd play, I'm going to call them cash games, right? Just optimize for advance rate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Although it is interesting that the zero running back had very good advance rates last year, and the regular season winner was zero running back. So I actually, and in PPR best ball,
but that was an extreme.
It was
like,
an extreme.
He hit on the nuts, right? Like he was like,
That's
whatever.
You would want to play zero or be a little differently, I think.
Yeah,
I think you'd want to play a more conservative version of zero running back, but it has Sean Siegel's shown it in PPR. It's got a long track record of actually pretty good advance rates. So I think it's a viable strategy even in cash games. Would I be pushing it as much? No, I'd be, playing a little safer. Maybe, and honestly, maybe going
running back teams. No one is starting at running back week 1, and I'm just like, hope people get injured. / they like Khalil Herbert and whoever are my running backs. And I'm
with
like,
the dead zone falling back, though, you probably can. Like Pat, you said last year, like
James
Josh
Conner,
Jacobs,
Tyler Algier, like there are starters available with zero running back builds. They just
especially
people
now
we don't like. Yeah.
So
and I would tell that person that know your rule
move to a different
structure,
state,
because FFPC rewards pocket passing quarterbacks a little bit more than the other sites.
Like that, like they give you more for passing yards. Yeah.
So like a Pat Mahomes maybe is
increase, I think.
I don't remember it, but
it's for every 0.02 instead of point. It's 20 yards is a point instead of 25 yards is a point. Is what it is. Point for 20, not point for 25.
Okay.
Yeah, so not that much different, but it's worth noting.
I don't know. I don't know if it's significant enough to even think about, but know your rules. Obviously, premium.
Liam, do you accept this challenge here from Mathology? So he says he's got a trivia question for you. Wrong or unsure, if you accept this challenge, you must publicly apologize to your New Hampshire friends and family and invite Mathology on a stream with you where you play Battleship while drafting a BBM team. So this is a pretty high stakes bet you may be taking on here.
I'm a fan of Mathology. I will something like I've been following, like I play poker, I follow the poker drama, and something I really like from the poker world is like the Joe Ingram pod, and recently this guy Will Jaffe, like they do these spaces or YouTube streams where they literally let anyone call in, and so you just have like Will Jaffe's Twitter space has like guys pretending to be sideline reporters, like playing a character, like a recurring character who comes in like and then you have like people just like calling in, trolling them, being like icy wiener. And like I want to start doing this in fantasy football and just like opening up the Twitter spaces, let these random trolls and whoever get in there. Not Mathology's not a troll. He's hilarious. Generally skewed towards sexual content, I would say.
I think that's fair to say.
Lands with me. I think he's funny. I'd have him on the channel. But what's the?
All right. Okay. So this seems like you are you going to issue an apology if you get this wrong or not? Just the channel part.
We'll see. We'll see what
we'll see.
We'll see how we're feeling.
Here's the question. Name this NFL tight end. Born and raised in the live free or die state. Played at BC. Was drafted by the Finns in the 3rd round of the 2021 draft. Lastly, was the piece that made the Jalen Ramsey trade happen.
Is it Hunter Long?
It's Hunter Long, right? I actually didn't look up this, so
we all think it's Hunter Long.
We all think it's Hunter Long.
Is it okay? But I know that the Dolphins had a couple tight ends. There was one other tight end they had in the.
I'm pretty sure he's the one they traded. Like it wasn't Durham Smythe. It wasn't Keithan Carter.
They did trade.
Yeah, Durham Smythe was the guy.
So I know that they traded Hunter Long to the Rams.
I did not know a single part of the bio, but I did remember the trade.
Well, yes. Mathology, call into a Twitter space, please, and that would be.
Sorry, we're not going to get to see you draft Battleship with.
I'm going to do the first one towards the NFL draft, so hopefully you guys all join, and like another fun thing is like people join to just listen, and then you just put them on the spot, and you're like, and let's hear from Pat Carrain, who's like, what?
All right. Well, Bindles asked how to start a YouTube channel. Speaking of your YouTube streams, what was your experience?
Is this for me? Or?
I guess it's for yeah. You've done it more than me. It's like I'm like 3 weeks into this. You tell me.
Okay, well, I launched it in June or so. It's something I've thought about doing for a while, more so on the chess side. And then when you win a best ball contest, you're like, all right, time to like roll with fate. And I wouldn't say like I was pretty lazy in the beginning where I wasn't like my thumbnails sucked. And I kind of thought it was like endearingly bad. Like I was making them on Paint. I'm now using
the same thing.
I'm now using Canva. And I don't know. I'm at 1,500 YouTube subscribers as of today. Just crossed that barrier. Nice. My goal is to get to like 5,000 this year. This summer at least. It would be. I doubt I'll reach there, but it'd be nice. And I kind of view it as like I enjoy doing this. I used to be a teacher, so like I like teaching anyways, and it's like a backup income source where I don't know if the market crashes or something, like hopefully, because like if you can get to a lot of YouTube subscribers, which in fantasy football doesn't seem likely, you can make a lot of money. Like we see this Rampage guy in poker playing these $1 million cash games. He has got like 100,000 YouTube subscribers or something. So It's been a good experience. It's not very organized. I just kind of rip drafts, and I'm trying to get more organized and better at it. I think I'm going to launch TikTok just at Apple Pods, trying to be more official. Probably do something like what Pat's doing eventually, maybe even this year, later in the summer, just like offering a subscription and, sell my picks and whatnot. But want to make sure I have enough content to do that first, which
we have so that leads us into a question here from Daily Rojo. I noticed that you wrote an article and then narrated it on your podcast channel. Where do you get your ideas?
I always had that thought. I later realized this is similar to what Pat's doing, but I loved it, man. Value that I was providing to the site that contracted me. Like I'm giving them free, whatever. I need to start getting some people to that will pay me to do some ads, but I don't know if I'm big enough or how that works at all.
I honestly, I listened to that episode. I loved it. I love listening to stuff as opposed to having to read it. So I actually am a big fan of this. I hope you keep doing it if you're writing for 3013 more.
Yeah, I'm gonna be writing a little bit more. I'm just like contracting for 3013 right now. I don't know. I'd be open to doing full time in fantasy with someone, or again launching my own thing eventually. And I got a couple articles in my brain that will be good to write. So now that I'm through tax season, that's what I did last week. I think I'll get to the writing.
Nice.
And thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, of course. Here's a question from Barker again. I'm curious if you guys are going to be using Spike Week's Draft IQ, if tools like this have become essential to manage a portfolio of teams. He hasn't made the plunge yet since he's drafting mostly on his phone. Any other thoughts / predictions on the future of best ball with regards to third-party tools, which will help manage exposures, etc.? And then Chris replied to that asking about thoughts on their ownership metric they're rolling out. Something like that would be useful for finding lower paired combos in the first rounds. But curious if he's had a different take that's kind of all it is really helpful for right now.
I mean, this goes back to question 1 of the pod today, which was vibes based. To me, I'm not fucking stressed about my combos. I'm not going through my ownership each week and being like, oh no, I need 2% more Tyreek Hill and to combine him with Josh Jacobs or my portfolio won't be perfectly managed. And Eric, friend of mine, I like Eric. I feel passionate about the subject, though. I'm really against the tools that he and Brick and others have made regarding best ball, because what I do not want to have happen, and this does me literally no favors to do this, and I'm not trying to tear down the business or anything, but what I do not want to have happen is a wealthy businessman on Wall Street or whoever is able to just auto draft sharp teams, just literally just pay money to have these teams drafted. And I think you as a consumer should not want this either. Like a big part of best ball is that it's fun and that it takes a big time investment if you're going to do it well or do it at all. And so if there's software out there that's going to auto draft very smart, sharp teams for you, that is bad. We've seen this in poker. Literally, people are thinking online poker is going to die because they have RTA bots, real-time assistance bots, which run sims in the moment and make calls like that. And I understand that is not what's going on right now with these plugins, but it is the first step to me, and I'm against them for best ball and think that the websites should be detecting them and blocking these plugins, or like no one's going to use the plugin if you risk your investment. So they should be aggressively finding out how to manage this.
I don't feel strongly about like the sites having a responsibility to not allow these things, but I agree with Liam that I would prefer for people to be as bad as possible that I'm playing against. It's that simple. Like if I want to be as good as possible, let's make the field as bad as possible. Like you think about like the olden days of DFS.
Make the field as bad as possible.
Well, but yes, don't let them get good.
Just real quick, just to be clear, like I have no problem with Kyle or Pat or anyone who plays best ball to use the plugins as they currently are. My concern is that it's just step 1 to a fully sentient auto drafting bot that makes auto drafters able to draft very
best ball Terminator is what you're talking about.
Basically, yeah, like if and statements. If I draft this, do this.
It's like a best ball optimizer.
If you want to auto draft right now, you can't do if and statements. So like that's what I have a problem with, and I think that what Spike Week has and what they have is first step. I don't think anyone who's a sharp drafter needs that shit either. You know, like I've never used anything like that. I've won 3 tournaments, you know, like maybe that'll be a dinosaur take in future years, but it's like, it's not hard to know your combos of players roughly, right? Like you don't need to get so granular with it.
Well, so what I would say for the Spike Week stuff that I've used personally is like, I do find the constructions that I've used to be pretty helpful to look at, like how much 0 running back, how much sheer running back, double anchor, all that stuff. I also think it is helpful to just like have a spot where you can go and check out your ownership projections for DraftKings, because you don't, or not ownership, what you have drafted on DraftKings, because that's super hard to even see. Like on the Underdog app, you can go check your exposure.
Though, like no issues with those, right? But
it's not a time saver. It's a thing that doesn't. How else do you?
I could log my draft after each. I could log each. Draft
I guess you could log your draft.
So this is just a time saver they're offering. I don't have an issue with that.
Okay, yeah, that's a time save. That's like more than a time saver to me, because I know I would never.
The time saver most people are probably not doing. You're right.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's kind of a time saver then. Like the machine that drafts the correlation stuff is just like you not having to ever log on. That saves you time just to an exponential.
This podcast is a time saver that I didn't have to travel to
Massachusetts. The line where like and honestly, from a site's perspective, they're not financially incentivized to shut a bot down, because if a bot is like, you know, I used to play this game called RuneScape, and like it's filled with bots, but guess what? The bots buy membership. So that helps the website. But from Underdog's perspective, they're not like Best Ball is not their big financial windfall. It's not like their big, the end goal is sports betting. So if they want to have a good customer experience, I mean, maybe people will not be the wiser, but to me, it's not.
I don't think people will be the wiser.
And that's unfortunate, but like, yeah, like financially, more people playing, more rake equal better for them. However, it's not something that makes them a lot of money anyway. So why not? You know, like I think if there were more people like me talking about this, like there are in poker, people would be more like. And again, what Spike Week currently offers, no problems with. Like I don't have an issue with that. It's just what it represents is like
it's just
something is coming
right now.
This is the first line of code in Skynet. You know, you can write one line of code, but then when the Terminator comes around,
I will say, it would be it would be a little surprising if we like trace the end of humanity back to like Eric Bime for Spike Week tools. I would be surprised, is all. Okay, and no shots at Eric. You know, it's very sharp.
I mean, I don't know. Like, do you guys feel I'm a little misguided in the worry about the potential? Because like I've just seen it in poker. It came.
I think poker is very different because poker is solvable. Like it has mathematical parameters where like even if you create a bot that creates like perfect stacks, like you still have to say like, oh, I projected Justin Fields for 242 season-long points, and I projected the correlation between him and Darnell Mooney to be like a 0.43 R squared or whatever. Like there are human inputs that poker.
What about when the bot starts collecting data on Kyle Dvorchak, and it's like, and I know Kyle Dvorchak will select X player X percent of the time, so it's able to like adjust on the fly. And yeah, you would need someone smart to be like, or not even really. You could just be like, okay, I want the game stack week 17 game. So tell an if statement. If I take Kelsey Mahomes, take Broncos player 15% more of the time. You could just do something like
that's just an optimizer though. Like DFS has optimizers and the game isn't dead.
Well, if you're collecting information about other drafters, if you've got like, I know Kyle takes, the only way you'd know Kyle does that is because you are basically pooling information across multiple drafters. And so the bot is essentially like more than max entering.
What about when the bots start to work together? And like,
well, I mean, that's just collusion. That's all you've said something against.
But it's collusion. It makes that a worry, right? Where like collusion.
But we could collude now, Liam. You and I could collude.
No, but what I'm saying is collusion right now is a non-worry because A, obviously you can't collude to win the size of contest, but more importantly, B, it's a big time sink that is just not scalable. If you could enter 3,000 robots and buy accounts, you could. Now the time sink is gone because of auto drafts, and B, you could just kind of like layer these things in. And so it's like, Collusion becomes more of a worry as soon as you have an auto drafting sentient bot.
The auto draft part is the thing I completely agree with you on. If there's a way that you can get this to the point where you just auto draft it and you're multi-table auto drafting and it's just flying through drafts and they're sharp teams, then like what are we doing? That's not really even best ball at that point.
What the fuck are we playing? Exactly.
Yeah.
The computers are
that doesn't bother me. That's like
if you have a HUD overlay that shows you like here's these two players, you're sort of like deciding between the two, and you've got 35% exposure to one and 3% exposure to the other, and you're like, I'm going to take the guy with 3%. It's nice that I know that right off instead of having to quickly look it up in another thing. I think that's fine.
A, HUDs are the first step to the auto draft, in my opinion. B, if you don't know that you have 3% of a player versus 35, just like intuitively,
maybe it's
go ahead and use
22 and maybe it's 22 and 12. I've been surprised by that stuff. I've been like, I know I'm drafting this guy, and then I look and I have 6% of him. That's happened to me a bunch, because it's like I didn't actually draft him as much as I thought. I thought about drafting him, but then I broke ties against him more than I realized.
Again, this goes to the vibes-based approach. Like, are we being vibes-based when we're getting so granular about 4% here or there? Like,
well, one thing that I like with
I want to be that granular if I'm like taking this seriously. I actually do. Like that's.
I don't want to have leaks. I don't want to have like. I drafted this guy 50 and this guy 25, and I basically feel the same about them. And I know myself that I will do that. I have that like type of personality where I'll be like, I just took this guy a bunch because of vibes, because I do draft vibes. I draft on my phone. What I do is then I go back and check. I've experimented with the one that Brick had, but I basically just draft on my phone. So I'm not doing any of the HUD stuff. But then I go and I check because I need to like check in with myself basically. And you're like, because if I don't, I end up with like 40% on multiple players. So that's the, I need to check my
no issue with the HUD, but don't you think it's the first step to becoming an auto draft program? Like,
I don't think the auto draft program is bad. Like, of course I would rather not play against auto drafters, but like
that is bad. That's bad.
I also wish no one would ever make content because it would make it easier to win.
This comes back to the ego of humans versus computers. Every single game people have thought has been unconquerable by computers. Chess, poker, Go. Every single time the human was wrong, the computers are better at it. I'm not so egotistical to think that I'm just going to be the best at best ball or whoever is. Computers are going to be better than me, and soon, if not already.
But like. That sounds like a you problem that like you can't make computers as good as other players.
That's not a you problem.
It's not a you problem if there's like if the best player in the world is a computer program that anyone can buy and just fire away at best ball. That's just destroyed the ecosystem is what that did.
I mean, but like that's true in DFS too. Like the best players are just coders, right? They're just really smart coders who also have some game knowledge, but that would be true of this too. It's just like, of course, I want the game to be winnable forever. I want to make a ton of money and never lose, but like you can't just ban things.
You think that you should just let the ecosystem be destroyed? Like,
but it hasn't killed the DFS ecosystem.
Could be 90% filled by an auto drafting program and 10% by humans, and a website has the ability to stop that. They shouldn't stop that because c'est la vie. What's going to happen is what's going to happen. Free market.
Well, okay, but wouldn't DFS be the spot that this would have already happened in if that's where we were heading? Because you're like there are optimizers where you can fire off 150 lineups, but like to my knowledge, no one actually just does that, right? You go through, you make sure that like these lineups make sense. You review the lineups that are being spit out. You run various things. Maybe I don't use an optimizer. So is that just you just set some presets and fire it off and throw them in?
I mean, people do. I don't. I will check my stuff. So I'm not
Kyle?
good enough. But no. But like people like Brick just have simulations that they make ahead of time and they play what they play.
Okay.
I guess it's because for me, best ball supposed to be fun, and it's not fun if people.
For sure, I agree with that. But like,
I don't know. Like, I guess all it is destroy. Like, maybe it wouldn't destroy it, but
I don't think so because so many people aren't thinking about it. Like, well, if you think it's fun though, why would you care about winning or losing? Like, it can't be both fun, but also
it's fun because I can envision myself winning too. And when
something can be fun and we make money on it. That's definitely possible to do.
I don't know.
Like you can't maximize for both in the sense of like if you wanted to maximize for profit.
I guess that's true. I don't draft while I'm on a roller coaster. So fair enough.
And again, even if you don't have a problem with what I said, the collusion concern becomes an actual issue to me. Where currently collusion is not an issue, full stop. Like it's not scalable. It's not like you could stack your team. You're not going to win the contest often anyways, but I don't know if you could enter 11 robots and work together. That seems bad.
Sure, but I would guess they have ways to tell that just in the way that like DFS has ways to tell if you are colluding. Like
maybe. I don't know. But like why allow that to even be possibly an issue if we could just sense the use of the plugin and stop it? I mean, obviously you're not going to be able to sense someone having one cell phone auto drafting, like telling them who to auto draft and making a pick on another, but that's not scalable because now that person has to make the pick.
Because they're actually, and this is the thing, that type of stuff is totally fine. And I think we're going to be in that universe for maybe longer than you're thinking because that's someone drafting. If someone's drafting, I'm fine. If it's someone not drafting and it's basically a computer program drafting, that's not really what we're trying to do here, in my opinion.
I think you could also tell the correlation of like this account has entered the exact same contest at the exact same times as a fellow account, and they've both auto drafted every single pick they've ever made. Like,
well, no, but you don't need to make the computer program doesn't need to auto draft. The computer program can move a mouse,
or just two accounts that only ever enter at the same line. Like that's clearly a same time. Like,
no, but
clearly,
like this would be someone who goes out, buys 100,000 accounts, whatever, and or I don't know. It becomes
don't do Skynet. We've got don't do the Skynet thing. HUDs are fine. Don't do Skynet. We got to move on to a hard hitting question here.
Okay.
How do you guys factor in bye weeks to your roster constructions?
0%. Just don't care. At any position.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't do it either.
Sometimes I'll do it on purpose to get unique. Like I'll take two quarterbacks with the same bye, but don't care. I mean, unless my whole team is the same bye. That's the only case I would care.
Yeah, if you happen to notice you're like stacking into the exact, like I've got a two receiver, one tight end stack, and I've got two receivers. Oh, they're all week 6 or whatever. Like, sure, you probably shouldn't have 7 of 9 receivers on your roster all on bye, but like even like Liam said, it's probably not that big of a deal to have double tight end and double quarterback on the same bye.
Tight end definitely doesn't matter. Quarterback, I'll give you a little bit, but it's like, okay, you are taking a 20-point loss, but it's like if no one is comboing those quarterbacks, now you've made back your EV and uniqueness.
Yep.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same. Like if you take a double quarterback build with a bye week that's shared, if you get past that bye week and you advance the team, which isn't like a crazy thing to think would happen, it's 1 week, and then you get a low-owned guy because like they ping pong weeks.
I know Hayden Winks put out some research on this that says 20 points is a little bit more than you would be. Like it is significant where, at least for him looking at past years, was like this is the difference between advancing or not. But to me, it becomes it's like
so is leverage. So is
the presence of a Josh Jacobs though. It's like that's how advancing happens a lot of times. Is like you hit a player who really kills the field and
right.
You advance by hundreds of points sometimes.
Right. Yeah. And like you can't leverage is hard to get in the final round because the players that got you through are almost always overrepresented in the final round, having, the quarterback who everybody else has, but then you have him paired with someone that no one else really has him paired with because they share the same bye week.
And like a solid month,
a small potential to help you.
We don't know the bye weeks, right? Like when does the schedule come out?
The schedule comes out, I think, in like the 2nd or 3rd week of May, right?
Yeah. So like for like 3 or so weeks, we literally don't know bye weeks.
Right.
Yeah, good point. It's like some are going to be there.
Yeah, I think it probably will be the difference between you advancing and you not sometimes. And that's like, I'm willing to sacrifice that small percentage some of the time, because it will also sometime in the next million years be the difference between me getting 30th in the final and first. Like,
Kyle, you are giving strong AI vibes off.
Yeah.
Right now. Like million years.
Not million, but it literally would be
Chat GP Kyle.
1,000 years before you ever like
side with humanity once, Kyle. Just do it once.
I don't think I will. It would be like a few, probably hundred. It would be like a few thousand years for you to like actually stabilize and realize your expected value. I mean, like if you play the contest out, it takes you like 80 years to, on average.
Kyle, what is a human's lifespan?
They're shorter than that. I understand.
Just tell me what it is. No, just tell me how many years a human lives.
Like 200s, low 200s.
High
200s?
Okay. All right. I think we need to end the stream. Last question here from Shit Yeah the Achievers. What's a day in the life of Murph? Murphy right now is.
Is he talking about your dog or me?
Well, I assumed my dog. But let's answer both. Murphy's asleep at my feet. He gets to go outside. I have a shared backyard with the neighbors upstairs. Come down and they water their plants, and it's his best part of his day. The two sisters upstairs. He's like, I love you so much. So this is amazing that you're outside. And he runs outside and he gets to say hi. I walk around the neighborhood. He likes to sniff all the dogs, and he's obsessed with anyone trying to pet him.
What did you get him a big present after Best Ball Mania 3?
I didn't get him a big present. I get him some Chewies.
Get him a T-Rex bone, dude. Get him like a $20,000 T-Rex bone.
Or an actual Tyrannosaurus Rex bone.
Leg.
I thought that was like a type of dog treat, but you mean
so did I? I
mean like a literal be like, I want that right there, and they're like, okay, sir, that's $15,000 for the woolly mammoth. Oh my God.
So anyway, that's Murphy's life. Murph, how's your life going?
No, shockingly similar. Nothing different, actually.
Anyone who tries to pet Liam, he loves them.
He loves it. Just out in the Florida sun, just hanging out.
Big puppy guy.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think that'll do it. Thank you so much for this first ever mailbag pod on Legendary Upside. I really appreciate you guys jumping on.
You couldn't have chosen two better guests.
I agree. Kyle, what do you got going on at NBC?
A lot of draft stuff, lots of draft content. So if you like rookies, you like the draft, follow me on Twitter, and I try and tweet all that out. And NBC pod at the time of recording this, like an hour, or watch it back.
I plugged Kyle's tweets into ChatGPT and asked it to predict the likelihood that this person is a person or a robot. You're not gonna like the results, Kyle.
Oh no. Confirmed AI, Kyle Dvorchak.
Outed.
Liam, you're launching new stuff.
Check out my YouTube at Chess Liam. Launched my Apple podcast, Chaos Surfing. Check that out too.
I like the logo. Did you get someone to design that for you?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I mean, I just thought the idea Chaos Surfing sounds right for best ball because it's like trying to conquer the variants. It's crazy chaotic. So I'm going to help you surf through it.
There you go.
Aloha.
Yeah, join the Discord. If you guys aren't in the Discord, this is how all these questions came about. You got to be a paid member to Legendary Upside, but I am running a 30-day trial. I am going to shorten the trial after the NFL draft. So if you want to make sure you get that sweet 30-day trial, go ahead and join before the NFL draft. Get the whole month of May free, which is Best Ball Mania month. I mean, it's pretty good. But see you guys later. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll have more rookie content out for you next week. Check out the Dwayne McBride article that I just dropped this morning. Talk to you later.